What is the reason, in particular today, you want to talk about a sort of subsector that you're clamping down on in terms of the fight against illegal immigration?
Well, we see the fight against illegal immigration across the board. So disrupting the gangs, which is what the Border Security Bill second reading is going to be about in Parliament this afternoon, but also to say to people you cannot come over to the UK and work illegally without there being consequences, which is why we're talking about the intensification of labour market action to prevent this kind of exploitation. Today, we've just had the best January since 2019 with a 73% increase in arrests and a 48% increase in raids on those sectors of the economy where we think illegal workers are.
So I mean, I saw the percentage increase, as you said, a great increase in terms of the number of arrests of people working illegally. But in terms of the actual numbers, you're talking about hundreds still versus, of course, the illegal crossings, which is in the hundreds of thousands potentially each year. Do you think specifically making more of these arrests will lead to lower small boat crossings?
We know, for example, that the criminal gangs who've been allowed to take hold along our borders and have a very sophisticated business model, which is very lucrative, do advertise in places for people to come over and pay the money. And part of the advertising is that they'll be able to work in the UK easily. And what we're saying is, no, you won't be able to work illegally in the UK easily. If you're found, you will be arrested and deported. And of course, we're also taking action against those employers who are cheating by employing illegal workers, paying them very, very low wages and often leaving them in squalid conditions. So there's fines. Those who are found doing this can be disqualified from being directors. So enforcement of the rules matters.
I'm interested you say arrested and deported. So that is, if you're illegally working, do all the powers exist already to immediately deport? Where are you going to deport them to specifically?
Well, it depends where they're from. You can't deport them willy-nilly. You've got to find out where they're from and deport them back to where they came from.
And if someone has gone as far as taking a job illegally, do they have the same protections that an asylum seeker arriving on the first day would potentially have?
Well, if you arrive and you claim asylum, then there's a process to see whether you are entitled to protection. That's what we've been doing with starting up processing, because Conservatives stopped processing completely and just left 100,000 odd people stuck in the system, not processing them. So we've started up the processing for asylum claims. But the issue is that if you're waiting for that to be done, you cannot work. And if anyone is found working, then that will certainly be taken account of as part of any asylum claim they might make.
And what portion of small boat crossings does this account for, do you think?
Well, when we come across people in the labour market, if they're here illegally, we know about it. They don't always tell us how they got across. So the issue is that we're cracking down on those who arrive illegally and think they can work illegally. Often it's a trap and it's very exploitative, and they've been sold a dream that isn't true. So it's important that we crack down on that kind of exploitation and get the message out there that it is not easy to live and work illegally in the UK.
What about the punishment for the employers?
Well, they can be fined up to £60,000 per person that they've employed illegally. They can have up to 5 years in jail if they're found to be doing this, and they can be disqualified from being a director of any company.
I wanted to switch focus and talk about Andrew Gwynn and Paul Ryan. What's the update specifically on Paul Ryan?
Well, he's apologised, my understanding is, for some of these comments in a WhatsApp group that goes back years, apparently. And I think my understanding is that the Chief Whip will be seeing him today. There's an ongoing investigation into the entirety of that WhatsApp group. Andrew Gwynn has been administratively suspended. That kind of comments are not acceptable. So the Prime Minister has taken a very strong stance straight away on all of this as soon as it came to light.
What's your understanding as an MP as to what the bar is for potentially having to not just apologise but maybe lose the whip? Is failure to speak up when somebody else says something offensive enough to disqualify you from deserving the whip, or is it only if you've said something bad yourself?
I mean, I think that's a matter for the Chief Whip to decide when he talks to the MP in question today. And I think also the investigation will be about context, will be about who said what when, and that will give the individuals the chance to explain themselves. Both of them have apologised.
And your personal view towards all of this? I mean, of course, some of the comments that we've allegedly read, that have been alleged to have been said, are just appalling, and obviously the actions against Andrew Gwynn are more severe than thus far against Paul Ryan. But we can also get into a place where if somebody else has said something, you can't punish everybody for that. And I guess it's just a kind of how far things should go on this.
I think that's why context is important, and that's why we need to wait to see what the investigation says. I haven't seen the context in this group, and that's for those that are investigating in the party, and those, and also the Chief Whip. But I note that the MP in question has apologised profusely this morning.
Of course, it's Oliver Ryan, not Paul Ryan, the former Speaker of the US. I got that confused. Just finally wanted to ask you about this AI summit taking part in Paris today. President Macron, to his credit, has attracted quite an extraordinary guest list and seemingly a huge amount of investment. Is that a worry for us in the UK?
Well, I don't think we should always see investment in other countries as a problem for us. We're doing our own attempts to get investment in the UK. We all know that AI is going to be a driver of new jobs and new technologies, and it's important that all democratic countries get on the top of what this technology is and see how it can be used for good.
And then just finally, President Trump en route to the Super Bowl last night announcing his latest set of tariffs. This time it's 25% on steel and aluminium. Again, not really something that's going to affect the UK?
Well, look, I mean, we have a very balanced trading relationship with the UK. I think £300 billion worth of trade between our countries. And I think it's in the best interests of both of us as long-standing allies and neighbours that we carry on with that balanced trade. We'll have to wait and see whether the President gets more specific about what he meant by that comment on the way to the Super Bowl.
Do you think so far, though, we might have avoided getting these tariffs by luck rather than by design?
Well, we'll have to wait until the import of what President said on his way to the Super Bowl actually becomes clearer. But I would say that we have a lot of mutual investment in each other's economies, trillions of dollars worth of investment, and I think it's in both our interests as trading countries and economies to keep our relationship as close as possible.
Angela Eagle, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you.